Tonight, due for release, the last-ditch bid to keep a Snowtown monster behind bars.
Already clinging to life support, a Western Suburbs hospital goes into administration.
Stomping on cars, a costly crime spree in Gawler, an 11-year-old girl among those arrested.
Emotions as big as their backpacks as thousands head off to school for the first time.
And cricket's new superstar who broke and won Aussie hearts at the same time.
Live from Adelaide, 7 News with Rosanna Mangiarelli and Will Goodings.
Good evening. There's anger tonight as a Snowtown monster who helped cover up the bodies in the Barrels murders prepares to walk free from jail.
The Attorney-General is seeking urgent legal advice in a bid to keep Mark Hayden behind bars, or at least supervised upon release.
He helped cover up the worst serial killings in Australian history. Now, more than 2 decades on, Mark Ray Hayden is preparing to walk free from prison, unsupervised and unrestricted. The Snowtown victims' families forced to relive their unimaginable horror.
It's difficult for them to contemplate his release, given that they as victims endure a life sentence of pain and suffering. I think the feelings of anger are still there.
Following a marathon trial, John Bunting, Robert Wagner and James Vasakis were convicted of the depraved murders between 1992 and 1999. 8 decomposing bodies were found in plastic barrels in a disused bank vault in Snowtown. Others were buried in a northern suburb's backyard. Hayden was found guilty of helping to conceal the bodies, including the remains of his wife, Elizabeth Hayden. His 25-year jail term ends in May.
It's a huge adjustment for victims to now consider that he'll be in the community.
But the Attorney-General is seeking urgent legal advice, determined to stop Hayden roaming the streets unsupervised by having the now 65-year-old deemed a high-risk offender.
If someone meets that definition of the high-risk offender, they can have an extended supervision order placed on them that can do a number of things like electronic monitoring, impose curfews.
Having served almost 25 years behind bars, the only option left to the government is to take their case here to the Supreme Court.
These were horrific crimes. They were some of the worst we've ever seen in the history of the nation. So we need to think through our legal options very carefully, and we are exploring each and every one of them.
The move welcomed by the victims' loved ones.
Any steps that can be taken to maximise community safety would be welcomed. Community safety is always a priority for victims. They don't want to see any other families suffer the way they have suffered.
Deanna Williams, 7 News.
There are growing fears a crucial Western Suburbs hospital is about to close its doors amid soaring debt.
Let's go live to Hannah Ford. And Hannah, it's gone into administration.
It has, Will. The Western Hospital here at Henley Beach has been on life support, but things have gone from bad to worse in recent days. Administrators moved into the building this morning, tasked with digging the business out of a deepening financial crisis. SA taxpayers stumped up $1 million in a lifeline to keep the private hospital open amid revelations it couldn't pay the rent. That loan is due to be repaid by the end of the month, but that now seems very unlikely. Administrators say the hospital will continue running as normal while they go over the books, but locals are growing increasingly anxious, fearing they're about to lose this vital health service.
No, I think it's a fantastic hospital, and to me it always has been. And it covers a lot of areas in our medical world, and if this had to close, it would be a shock.
So there's nothing else around here. You've only got Queen Elizabeth, which is absolutely hard to get to. There's nothing around here at all.
And it's important because there's a lot of people go through this hospital, and especially in the clinic there.
The hospital has 70 beds and a GP clinic that sees 3,500 patients a month, easing some of the burden on the overwhelmed public system. Administrators are now desperately searching for a new owner to take over the facility. A creditors' meeting will be held in 8 days' time. Rosanna.
Thank you, Hannah. There was a collective sigh of relief from parents when children returned to school this morning, but not everyone was thrilled to be back. While some students are still finding their feet, others were given a glimpse of life beyond the classroom.
Ready?
Day one of the school year saw excitement and a few nerves.
Excited?
While some were less enthused.
Do you have any first day nerves about going back to school? Are you happy to catch up with your friends again?
Holidays are officially over for 185,000 students, replaced by the morning rush to the school gates.
I will have 4 of them, so it was a bit busy.
Bit of a rush, bit excited, lots of nerves.
He was excited to see his new classmates and his new teacher.
Hard work.
Many first-timers had backpacks as big as their emotions.
Thanks.
While these high schoolers got new hands-on classrooms. The first of 5 technical colleges opened in Findon, where hundreds of Year 10s and 11s will complete their SACE and courses in engineering, health and early childhood education.
It's about 50 years since a South Australian government built a standalone technical college like this.
It'll help me receive everything that I need to be a paramedic.
Being able to go into a career with fabrication or something, that's really my main goal.
But building the new school hasn't been without its challenges. Only 2/3 of full-time positions have been filled here, with 150 students opting to stay at their high schools and tackle the vet pathway part-time.
I feel lucky in terms of I'm guaranteeing a talent base.
Kimberly Pratt, 7 News.
And back to school traffic was brought to a crawl this morning after a cyclist collided with a car at the intersection of Green Hill and Fullerton Roads. The 37-year-old rider from Glenside was taken to hospital but is expected to be okay. The driver of a Hyundai Hatch wasn't injured. Traffic was diverted around the crash scene for 3 hours while police investigated. The RAA is urging extra caution, saying last year was the deadliest in 25 years for vulnerable road users.
A gang of reckless youths has been caught on camera stomping on cars at a Gawler dealership during a costly crime spree. It was one of several businesses trashed by the group, an 11-year-old girl among the pint-sized suspects.
Stomping, kicking and laughing. A group of kids, including an 11-year-old girl, go to town on cars for sale at a Gawler dealership. Their actions infuriating and indiscriminate. At least a dozen cars damaged, the repair bill about $40,000. The rampage happened around 10:30 last night, and the car yard was just the beginning.
They just think that they can get away with it.
Police say the 6 young suspects also broke the front window of this takeaway shop. Again laughing as they fled. Before ransacking a caravan at Battery World.
Fans have been stolen, batteries, inverters. They've left a pair of scissors on one of the beds, so we assume that's what they used to jimmy it open.
The brazen youths leaving their mark on one of the crime scenes.
They should be at school anyways, getting ready for school and stuff like that, not doing it like this.
They then set their sights on a cafe at the Gawler railway station, pelting rocks at a window before stealing lollies and drinks.
I feel shocked and scared, because sometimes my daughter is the one opening the cafe.
The breakthrough came around 3:30 a.m. when a security guard spotted the group here at the Evanston railway station. Police were quickly on scene and took the youths into custody. Tonight, though, they're back in the community after being released on police bail.
Where are the parents?
Mitchell Sariovsky, 7 News.
A Western Suburbs man's narrowly avoided jail for spitting on a 7 News reporter. The 39-year-old lashed out at media covering his son's case in the Adelaide Youth Court in October 2022 and was caught on camera spitting at a reporter. The magistrate described his actions as vile, disproportionate and unacceptable. He received a 1-month suspended sentence.
An apprentice jockey who had a nasty fall at Strathalbyn yesterday has been cleared of any serious injury. Kelsey Hannon was thrown to the ground when her mount clipped heels with another horse after crossing the finishing line. The 21-year-old was airlifted to the Royal Adelaide but is expected to be released within the next 24 hours.
It seems the PM's broken promise on Stage 3 tax cuts hasn't passed the tennis test. He was booed and jeered at the Australian Open. Now his treasurer is denying the government's also considering changes to negative gearing.
The Prime Minister at the tennis, copping a real serve.
The Australian Prime Minister, the Honourable Anthony Albanese. The Deputy Victorian Premier, the Honourable Ben Carroll.
Just days after breaking his promise on stage 3 tax cuts, but on Melbourne radio, laughing it off.
Australian tradition.
The Treasurer playing his political doubles partner.
I think it's a well-worn Australian tradition, and I don't think we should read too much into it.
While urging people not to believe what they read about changes to negative gearing being the next broken promise.
Well, we've made it really clear, that that's not something that we have considered.
Put another way,
we're not contemplating other areas.
The coalition giving voters something to contemplate.
You've got to realise, ladies and gentlemen, when the Labor Party says something, it means nothing, because they don't keep promises.
Senior government sources tell 7 News there will be further substantial cost of living relief in the May budget, but delivered in ways that honours promises, not breaks them. The Teal independents are demanding wholesale tax reform.
We need to address how Australia makes money.
Voters will have their say in the Dunkley by-election in southeast Melbourne on March 2.
I suspect the mood is going to be a pox on both houses, so to speak, where both major parties' brands are struggling.
No cheering for either side. Mark Rowley, 7 News.
South Australia is the envy of the nation after knocking off Victoria to claim the title of Australia's best performing economy. Low unemployment and a booming construction sector lifted the state to top spot.
It's not an accident. It's happened through a lot of hard work. But we've got to maintain that momentum.
It's not all good news, though. According to CommSec, SA has the highest inflation at just under 6%.
Qantas is under fire for hiring 2 expensive consultancy firms to tell it how to regain the trust and loyalty of Australians. Critics claim the changes should be obvious.
Under repair, Qantas rebuilding its battered reputation with Australians.
I still call Australia home and all that. But at the end of the day, you've got to deliver.
Latest figures show nearly 70% of Qantas flights were on time. Virgin trailed with less than 60% on time and 7.5% cancelled.
Qantas charge a premium, so the expectation from the customer is that they want that premium experience, and part of the premium experience comes with on-time flying.
Qantas is aiming for at least a 10% improvement in performance. It's hired international consultants to help lift its game. Some wonder why that's needed.
Blind Freddie could tell them that you invest in staff, you invest in equipment.
Getting more from what are now contracted out airline jobs.
Trying to get those other outsourced businesses trying to be efficient as well, whether it's catering, whether it's baggage handling.
The Qantas CEO recently telling staff there's a long way to go, but looking ahead, there is a lot to be excited about in 2024. A year with significant headwinds, likely court action over alleged phantom flights and COVID credits. But Qantas maintains there is one bright spot. It says customer satisfaction doubled before Christmas and is tracking up.
Without the customer, you got nothing.
Christmas, 7.
The stakes have been raised dramatically in the Middle East after 3 American soldiers were killed in a drone strike in Jordan, the first US fatality since the war in Gaza began. The White House is blaming Iran and has vowed to retaliate.
A moment of silence for 3 fallen soldiers, followed with a threat. Vowing retaliation after a drone attack hit a US military base in northeast Jordan near the Syrian border. 3 US troops were killed, more than 30 others injured. America's commander-in-chief laying blame. We know it was carried out by radical Iran-backed militant groups. Responsibility claimed by the Islamic Resistance in Iraq, a Tehran-backed militia. Militants supported by Iran have increasingly targeted US forces in Iraq and Syria since the October 7 attack on Israel by Hamas. The latest strike marks the first time US troops have been killed since the war in Gaza began.
That's absolutely not going to be something that this administration or the Pentagon takes lightly. That is going to prompt a response.
The Pentagon already launched strikes against Iranian-backed Houthi groups in Yemen in response to attacks on commercial vessels in the Red Sea. But the death of American soldiers threatens to draw the US closer to a direct conflict with Iran, with all eyes on Joe Biden to see what force he uses in response. In the United States, Miley Hogan, 7 News.
Sweeping changes have been made to King Charles' engagements while he recovers from a prostate procedure. Let's go live to Europe correspondent Ashley Mullaney. Ash, how long will the monarch be out of action for?
Well, the King's calendar has been cleared for the month, Will. He will be able to attend to government documents once he's released from hospital, but no social engagements, at least until the end of February. King Charles is said to be doing well, having undergone treatment for a benign enlarged prostate. He has just spent his third night in hospital here in London. Queen Camilla has been visiting multiple times a day to keep his spirits high. He is expected to be released from hospital in the coming hours if all has gone well. So too Princess Catherine, who has now been here for almost 2 weeks, having undergone abdominal surgery. Rosanna?
Thank you, Ash. The consumer watchdog has found government childcare subsidies that are meant to reduce out-of-pocket expenses for families have been swallowed up by rising costs. While providers are blaming soaring wages, the consumer watchdog wants more government action.
The consumer watchdog has examined how childcare is delivered and where it's failing families.
The most disadvantaged and vulnerable members of our community are not able to access affordable childcare.
Government subsidies initially driving down out-of-pocket costs by 11%, but then savings reversed. The ACCC finding fees across all services have grown faster than inflation and wages.
We know that reform is needed in this sector.
Operators say providing care has become more expensive.
The number of providers are having to pay above award to attract those really good quality educators.
Mums and dads feeling the pinch.
I guess it's worth the money, but it could be better at times.
Between 2018 and 2022, childcare fees rose by more than 20% nationwide, compared to an average of 6% in other developed nations.
You can't blame a dog for barking. I mean, these are for-profit operators. They're going to make a profit. The system is working for some families, but it's not working for many.
The consumer watchdog has recommended government intervention, including naming and shaming providers who jack up their fees, as well as daily price caps. The early childhood minister promising to take long-term reform to the next election.
This is Labor kicking the can down the road.
Isabel Mullen, 7 News.
Many Australians are celebrating a new sporting hero, and he's a West Indian fast bowler. Pat Cummins led the praise for Shamar Joseph after the 24-year-old's thrilling performance at the Gabba.
From total obscurity to superstardom in a fortnight, front of the queue for an autograph, the Australian captain.
Yeah, it's exciting. For some.
I still cannot believe it. His life's just like a fairy tale.
Shamar Joseph, 7 for 68. West Indies' first win in Australia in 27 years, overwhelming legends like Carl Hooper and Brian Lara.
Hey, West Indies cricket can stand tall today.
Lara met his new hero. Joseph met his.
It's amazing to see, tears come from the great ones' eyes because they know that they're young players out there that could do great things.
After the blow to the toe from Mitchell Starc the night before, Joseph almost didn't come to the ground. He didn't bring his whites.
He was like, you ready? You're starting this morning. I was like, what? I was in there shooting my shoes on, bare boxers and my hat.
Then insisted on bowling till every Aussie was dismissed in his second test, 7th first-class game. They found Shamar in a tiny village up a river in Guyana, connected to phone and internet only 6 years ago. Last time he returned by boat, the only way to get there. Imagine the welcome next time he gets home.
This is all my dream. I must say, to play Test cricket for the West Indies.
And our dream for it to continue. Matt Carmichael, 7 News.
Humble beginnings. You just can't help but like him, can you?
It is a superb story.
He's great to watch.
Absolutely, no doubt about that.
What else have you got for us, Soder?
Well, the remarkable result for the Windies, of course, as we saw. And speaking of Shamar, Joseph, we could be seeing a fair bit more of him right here in Adelaide. We'll tell you why shortly in sport. Sweet victory for Italian Yannick Sinner as he continued celebrations today after that monster comeback in the Australian Open final. And injury woes for Crows speedster coming off a really impressive 2023. We've got all that and plenty more coming up in sport.
All right, we'll catch you then, Soder. Well, they've been enjoying success up the East Coast for years. Up next, the Adelaide brothers who finally brought their sweet treats home.
Also, Australia's most ambitious Antarctic expedition in 2 decades.
The world's most famous painting targeted by climate activists.
And later, signs you might need a digital detox as more and more Aussies become addicted to tech.
2 South Australian brothers who created an ice cream empire with a cult-like following have opened their first store in Adelaide.
Customers came from all over the city to be first in line, eager to taste their famous gelati.
Today's the day these ice cream fanatics have waited for.
Absolutely, yes. You look at this, very happy faces. I can't get enough of this space. Their weekly specials. Oh.
After months of anticipation, the doors at Gelato Messina in Kent Town finally opened.
We've come from South Brighton, driven over here this afternoon to be one of the first in line.
Worth the wait? Definitely.
For loyal customers, there was no distance too far, nor price too steep. This man forked out $50 for an Uber ride from Salisbury.
Very excited. I've been waiting for such a long time to come to Messina in Adelaide. It's such an event.
The store's one of 30 across Australia. Brothers Nick and Danny Palumbo left Adelaide 20 years ago to establish their franchise in Sydney. Their success made sweeter now they've finally returned home.
We thought we had a deal already in place, and then in 2020, and then COVID derailed that. So here we are now.
The opening special's a nod to a couple of South Australian classics. It combines the flavours of a Balfour's custard tart and a Farmers Union iced coffee.
Once sold out, it could be months before the next scoop. A marketing ploy that keeps customers coming back for more.
It'll be worth it.
Gertie Sperling, 7 News.
Spontaneous combustion's being blamed for a recycling depot blaze at Largs North. Firefighters rushed to the Elder Road property around 12:30 this morning after smoke was seen coming from a shed. They found a pile of used oil filters burning in a large bin. The flames spread to machinery, causing minor damage.
Australia's most ambitious deep-field Antarctic expedition in 2 decades is underway. A team of scientists has been deployed to unravel some icy secrets while battling the world's harshest conditions.
How do you set up camp in the middle of nowhere? Here in East Antarctica, everything and everyone arrives by air. For this campaign, the Australian Antarctic Division settled on a spot known as Bunga Hills, 450 kilometres from the closest settlement. These hand-built habitats are home for 3 months.
Those types of yellow tents there, they're actually sort of a remarkable tent. They're actually really sort of toasty warm.
27 scientists are now running all types of experiments in all kinds of conditions.
Earlier this week, we had some really kind of classic Antarctic blizzards that were both windy and snowy.
Some have been camping further afield. A helicopter ride away, crucial experiments are being conducted on the Denman Glacier.
Denman Glacier, that basin holds about enough ice to raise global sea levels by 1.5 metres.
Drilling into the ice, they'll be able to see if the glacier's recent retreat is part of a natural cycle.
We're drilling through those ancient layers of ice, and the deeper we go, the further back in time we go.
We're getting a better understanding of what the future looks like and what sea level looks like.
Flying home next month with years' worth of Antarctic data to crunch. Tom Hartley, 7 News.
The world's most famous painting has come under attack, with protesters hurling soup at the Mona Lisa. Witnesses watched on in shock as 2 climate change activists took aim at Leonardo da Vinci's masterpiece, which is protected behind a glass case inside the Louvre Museum in Paris. The area was evacuated but reopened once the mess had been cleaned up.
Returning home now, and it's been a day filled with warm sunshine for the first day back at school for many kids.
Let's go live now to Casey, who joins us from the Marion Outdoor Pool. And Casey, from the classroom to the pool, school started there too.
Well, it has been a busy few hours here with lessons now in full swing. Today is day one of an 11-week program with a wide range of classes on offer for kids aged 3 and up. There is even lessons for adults too, and there is still time to sign up. Of course, today has seen some spectacular weather for the pool, plenty of warmth and sunshine. The splash park has been especially popular for the young ones wanting to cool off, and these conditions are set to stick around for the remainder of the week. I'll be back with a closer look at the full forecast later this hour, guys.
We'll catch you then. Thank you, Casey. Police have made a huge drug bust in the northern suburbs. Every room in the house used to grow cannabis.
Also, a troubled AFL star hauled to league headquarters over new allegations of domestic violence.
How a fight over a jar of Nutella led to a supermarket manager being stabbed.
Plus, the promise of cheaper fares for South Aussies keen to catch some rays in Queensland.
A man's been arrested after hundreds of cannabis plants were found at a property in Elizabeth North. Suspicions were raised when energy regulators noticed how much power was being used. Police then discovered the complex setup extending to every room of the Wamma Road home. A 43-year-old's facing a raft of charges, including diverting electricity.
The career of troubled North Melbourne star Taryn Thomas hangs in the balance tonight. The 23-year-old has been hauled before AFL House amid fresh allegations of inappropriate behaviour towards a woman. It's the second time in the space of 12 months he's fronted the AFL. Early last year, he was asked to explain separate allegations of inappropriate behaviour towards a woman.
An argument over a jar of Nutella has led to a Sydney supermarket manager being stabbed multiple times while trying to stop a group of shoplifters. Despite wounds to his chest and stomach, he chased after them.
Bleeding and limping in pain, this store manager has just been stabbed, but he's not letting a group of shoplifters get away without a fight. Holding his wound with one hand, he grabs their trolley of groceries with the other, kicking and pushing a woman who refuses to let go. As his colleagues try to help, the alleged stabber runs back inside. Pulling a knife from his pants, he tries to attack the 47-year-old again, but the brave manager won't back down. Armed with a chair, he chases after him. The woman then turns on other staff, punching one in the face. Their friend staying clear of the action, filming it on his phone. A violent attack, all over a jar of stolen Nutella. It was 4 p.m. yesterday. The couple and their mate seen collecting items in the Riverstone IGA. When they reach the register, they're confronted by staff. Matthew Flanack stabbed multiple times in his chest and stomach.
He was holding his, the stomach, and he was yelling, "Please call the police, please call the police." Then I saw he was bleeding.
He was rushed to hospital. 21-year-old Brittany Burden and her 31-year-old partner Daniel Jardiri were arrested and charged. A 25-centimetre knife was also seized. Fronting court today, the couple claimed self-defence, but only Brittany Burden was released on bail because she's 6 months pregnant.
The store manager remains here at Westmead Hospital after undergoing surgery for his injuries. He's said to be recovering well and is now in a stable condition.
He was very brave. He's a brave person.
Lucy McLeod, 7 News.
South Australians will soon be able to grab a cheaper flight to one of the country's premier holiday spots. Jetstar has become the first airline to offer a direct route from Adelaide to the Whitsundays with ticket prices $149 one way. It's hoped the added competition will help drive down the cost of airfares.
And we are hoping and even expecting that will stimulate the market between Adelaide and the Whitsundays.
But if you had your heart set on a winter escape, services won't begin until September. Tickets go on sale from the end of next month.
Well, it has 20 decks and more than 40 restaurants, bars and lounges. Up next, we're on board the world's biggest cruise ship as she sets sail on her maiden voyage.
Also, while your Medicare card will soon be getting a new look.
And snubbed by the Oscars, now Margot Robbie's coming home for a prestigious award.
Medicare cards are receiving a reboot as the public healthcare system celebrates 40 years. From Thursday, a commemorative card design and website will mark the milestone.
This card has just become such an important feature of the wallets and purses of Australians. Frankly, the Labor government, even of the great Bob Hawke, did not expect Medicare to last for 40 years.
The design will feature on all cards printed until the end of the year.
If you enjoy cruising, there's a new adventure to put on your bucket list. The world's newest and biggest cruise ship has just set sail on its maiden voyage, and everything on board feels as big as the ocean.
In an industry where bigger is better, meet the ship redefining Colossal, the icon of the seas.
This ship is 1,200 feet, guys, and I gotta admit, it feels every bit of 1,200 feet.
That's 365 metres, 250,000 tonnes of steel, 5 times bigger than the Titanic, the biggest ever built.
Exciting, I like.
On board there are 8 neighbourhoods, 7 swimming pools, 6 water slides and a hanging thing.
It is so much fun.
No housing crisis here. She can sleep almost 10,000 passengers, a small town, who'll apparently never get bored.
You've got the Aquadome with the home to the Aqua Theatre.
But the jury's out on bathrooms.
It's pretty small.
The Icon is on its maiden voyage, island hopping the Caribbean, but with food like this.
Southern fried chicken.
It's never far from home in Miami.
When you name a ship Icon of the Seas, it sets a really high bar.
And price tag at almost $3 billion to build. Tickets range between $2,500 to more than $14,000 for a week. No plans yet for a trip to Australia, so from here, you'll have to settle for something a little smaller. Tom Saker, 7 News.
Australian Hollywood megastar Margot Robbie will be coming home to accept a prestigious award on the Gold Coast. The Barbie star will be given the Trailblazer Award at the Actor Awards. It's given to actors whose work has served as an inspiration to others and promoted screen excellence at home and abroad. Chris Hemsworth, Rose Byrne and Isla Fisher have previously received the honour.
Well, let's take a look at finance now. The ASX 200 had a positive start to the week, up 23 points. Energy stocks were among the best performers, with Woodside and Santos both stronger. One Aussie dollar is currently buying 65.92 US cents.
Do you reach for your phone first thing in the morning and have trouble putting it down at night? Well, you wouldn't be alone. New research has found an increasing number of Aussies are struggling with tech addiction. We'll get some expert tips a little later in 7 News.
I think we're all guilty of that. Time for sport now and Soda. More pain for Wayne Miller.
Well, look, the young Crow, he's not so much young now, he's sort of mid-range. Look, he's had a few issues with the hamstring, and again, he's got some problems after it was a really good year last year. We'll have an update on just a moment. Also coming up, why Shamar Joseph is looking to replicate his amazing performances right here in Adelaide next summer. DJ Vasiljevic is on deck for another 3 years as 36ers, and he's got a growing endorsement for the interim coach. And the love story will continue to the Super Bowl as Taylor Swift's Travis Kelce looks to go back-to-back. Hello again. Well, we could be seeing a lot more of West Indies sensation Shamar Joseph. He says he wants to play for the Adelaide Strikers in the Big Bash. After leading the Windies to their first Test win in Australia in 27 years, he'll be hot property on the T20 market, but he's adamant that red ball cricket will always be his priority.
Sore toe or not, to bowl Australia out with 7 for 68 in 11.5 overs straight in your second Test becomes one of Test cricket's great performances. The big fear...
And eventually we just lose them to T20 cricket.
Not picked in their white ball squads, Joseph won't look for a game in the new UAE T20 League.
I'll be heading home and just get up some rest and then head into regional 4-day cricket.
With this commitment...
And I will say this live, I would always be available to be able to play for the West Indies, no matter how much money it takes or come towards me.
Would you like to get Shamar and the Strikers?
Well, that's a long way away. I suppose not only the Strikers, but, you know, he's hot property now, so most franchises will be looking at him.
No, nobody didn't reach out to me yet, but hopefully, let's hope for the best.
As a cricket fan, as a Test match cricket fan, there's a part of me that's was happy to watch.
Ex-keepers Tim Payne and Ian Healy criticised Pat Cummins for praising the Windies.
That should be the story in amongst all of this, is the way that they played.
The shock loss won't force a rethink on the new batting order for 2 tests in New Zealand from February 29.
If you look at the irony of it all, the question marks were on Steve Smith and Cameron Green, and they were our 2 best performed batters today.
Matt Carmichael, 7 News.
Well, England has a great chance to do what Australia couldn't last year, and that's beat India in India, sitting 190 runs behind after the first innings of the first test. Ollie Pope's 196 gave the tourists hope. Then, defending a 230-run lead, debutant Tom Hartley spun England to a momentous 28-run win.
Rush of blood, and the stumping.
Hartley 7 for 62, delighted the Barmy Army and left home fans in sheer disbelief. A few overs earlier, a cheeky stumping attempt from Ben Foakes almost sealed victory. It'd be interesting to see Johnny Bairstow's take on that one. Well, Yannick Sinner's first Grand Slam title capped a weekend of unlikely sporting victories. Down 2 sets to love against Daniil Medvedev, the 22-year-old Italian conjured up one of the all-time great comebacks to win last night's Australian Open final.
As a Gucci ambassador, Yannick Sinner is used to posing for the cameras, but this photo shoot was like no other.
Great emotions, slowly realizing what I've done. It's a great achievement for me and my team.
His newest piece of silverware by his side after a miracle comeback against Daniil Medvedev just hours before. He went into the final having only dropped a set all tournament, but at 6-3, 6-3 down, it looked all but over. Until a near impossible fight back.
That's a serious shot.
Sinner winning the next 3 sets comfortably and his first Grand Slam. 22-year-old Italian is Aussie coach Darren Cahill's 4th Slam winner, alongside Leighton Hewitt, Andre Agassi and Simona Halep. Delise Raps, 7 News.
Wayne Miller's frustrating pre-season has continued, with the Crows defender needing scans on his troublesome hamstring. The speedster complained of soreness during today's session, with an update expected tomorrow. Top draft pick Daniel Curtin is nearing a return to main training, while defender Nick Murray is ahead of schedule in his recovery from a knee reco, and he could be joined down back by Rory Sloane this year, with the veteran defender spending a little bit of time in defence this morning. And the Adelaide 36ers have locked away their best player, DJ Vasiljevic, on a 3-year deal. The star point guard is backing interim coach Scott Ninnis to take the role full-time from next season.
I think one more year for Scotty to actually prove himself, have a good pre-season, and I think we can do really well under him.
Vasiljevic is confident a championship isn't far away, especially if the Sixers can re-sign other off-contract stars like big man Isaac Humphries.
It's just trying to make him happy. He's got a lot off the court as well, so try not to butt in with that. We'll just see what happens.
The Sixers have won 5 of their last 6 and played the Kings at home on Friday. With 4 games to go, they're sitting just outside the top 6. The Socceroos are through to the quarterfinals of the Asian Cup after their best performance of the tournament so far. SA's Craig Goodwin was on target in a 4-0 win over Indonesia.
Probably now the boys are starting to believe more and more in it, and they're working.
A much stiffer test looms in the quarters, either South Korea or Saudi Arabia. And sports great love story is headed for the Super Bowl. Taylor Swift's boyfriend, Travis Kelce, starred in Kansas City's 17-10 win over Baltimore in the AFC Championship.
You gotta fight for your right to party! Believe it, baby, we're going to Las Vegas, Nevada, to go get us another one.
Aussie punter Mitch Wisnowski's San Francisco 49ers defeated the Detroit Lions 34-31 in the NFC Championship. That is our look at sport Super Bowl. Now, we know that Taylor Swift won't be doing the halftime entertainment, but I dare say we're going to see a lot of her on the screen.
Oh, yeah.
As much of her as the game, I reckon.
Yeah, too true.
A lot of young girls really enjoying the NFL
Suddenly.
at the moment.
Yeah, suddenly really interested in tight ends. Good on your side.
Karma is my boyfriend.
A new survey has found more and more Aussies are struggling to detach from their mobile phones.
It found most people reach for their phones just before bed and first thing in the morning, and health experts warn it's a huge problem.
Heads down, thumbs up. According to new research, phone addiction is far more prevalent than first thought.
I'm 17 and I use it every day. I reckon 4 or 5 hours a day.
A survey found 80% of young people use their phones just before bed, and older cohorts aren't much better. It's 60% of those aged 45 to 59. And most Aussies have their phones front of mind as soon as they wake up. 3/4 of Aussies under 44 reach for it within 3 minutes. Just a third of boomers do the same.
More than half of Australians say they're now trying to reduce the time they spend on social media. Tells us that we've got a problem.
Younger generations might be addicted, they're also acutely aware of it. 7 in 10 believe social media negatively impacts their mental health.
Big tech is designing these algorithms to make us scroll more. It gives us more of what we're looking at, and so it can become very addictive.
According to psychologists, the lack of sleep adds insult to injury.
There's a lot of brain science around now that shows that the brain effectively cleans itself overnight and removes some of those chemicals that contribute to anxiety and depression.
Experts say one way to tackle phone addiction is to get an old-fashioned alarm clock, so people aren't reaching for their device first thing in the morning.
My mum's rule is that I have to charge my phone outside my room.
Smart mum, can you see why she does it?
Yes, definitely. It makes it much easier.
Christy Cooper, 7 News.
Well, you've heard of Lovers in the Air. Well, this morning it was on the air. That surprise proposal next.
And weather-wise, a warm week is in store. I'll be back with your full forecast coming up live from the Marion Outdoor Pool.
Pay off your mortgage in 10 years, out of debt and into wealth sooner.
One of Australia's leading property investors shows you how.
And holiday in paradise, it's on us. Be watching to win a trip to Jamaica.
Fly to Montego Bay, live it up like Bob Marley, and we'll throw in the spending money.
Start with Sunrise.
For Adelaide's latest news and more, tune in to Will Goodings and David Pemberthy on 5AA Breakfast tomorrow morning.
Time for more on the weather now with Casey, who joins us again from the Marion Outdoor Pool.
And Case, it's been a spectacular start to the week, nice and warm today.
And there seems to be more on the way as well, Rosanna. But like today, the afternoons will have to contend with some gully winds and a bit of a sea breeze taking hold. So instead of hitting the beach to cool off, best bet might be down at your local outdoor pool. Good thing the centre here is open till 8 p.m. on weeknights, so no doubt it'll be busy for the rest of the week. The city today hit a top just shy of 30 degrees, and it is still around 26 now. Elsewhere around the state, and there was a bit of patchy fog about KI and the southeast early this morning. Some cloud around southern coasts, but skies remain dry with daytime temperatures mostly about average. A tropical low in central Queensland combined with a ridge of high pressure to our south will keep SA in a southeasterly airflow for the remainder of the week, and that'll keep conditions warm and stable here. But a trough is extending from that low, delivering widespread heavy rainfall and thunderstorms to southeast Queensland. Brisbane could see up to 90 millimetres of rain tomorrow. Hot and sunny over in the west though, up to 36 degrees for Perth. Back home, another hot day up north, a top of 43 for Moomba. Further south, and we've got some fresh and at times strong winds around, especially in the afternoon. A top of 31 for Port Augusta and Port Pirie, a hot and sunny 36 for Renmark, 25 for Murray Bridge, a mild and partly cloudy 20 for Victor Harbour, and 28 for Narracourt, with strong wind warnings for both Gulfs. For the city, down to 15, then mostly sunny tomorrow with a top of 28, Noarlunga heading for 25. On local waters, southeasterly winds turning southerly to 20 knots, up to 25 knots north of Grange in the afternoon, seas increasing to 2 metres. Looking ahead, and Wednesday set to be the mild day of the week with a top of 25, mostly sunny, and 28 Thursday, cloud clearing, and 29 Friday. A warm and sunny 32 Saturday, 29 Sunday, then a cold front will move through, delivering a cool change early next week. And before I go, let's take a look at tonight's ray of sunshine. Love was in the air and on air on Sunrise this morning, standing at a Harbourview venue for a cooking class segment. Adelaide's own Sam Mack smoothly handed over his mic to Sydney man James, who popped the question to unsuspecting girlfriend Sasha.
When will you marry me?
Yeah.
How are you feeling, Sasha? Congratulations.
Thank you. Wasn't expecting that one.
Yeah.
What a sweet proposal indeed, guys.
Absolutely,
No
Casey.
proposal here, though.
No, that's not what's going on. Don't get confused.
No.
Before we do go tonight, though, these are for you, and it's to mark a special occasion. 20 years here at Channel 7. It's been a remarkable career. It's a great achievement, and it's an absolute privilege to have got to share at least one of those 20 years with you.
Thank you, Will, and thanks to all the 7 team as well. It has been an absolute honour and privilege the last 20 years. I can't believe it. Of course, I was only 14 when I started.
I know, it's remarkable that they gave you the gig at that young.
But a huge thank you to you for the last year, all my colleagues as well, and of course our loyal viewers who you are awesome. Thank you so much. We will have updates throughout the evening. I'll enjoy these. Thank you again, Will, and good night.
Good night.
Stream 7 News anytime, live and on demand on 7 Plus and with 7news.com.au. You'll know the news now.